Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to Starseed Gathering Podcast. As you can see, I'm in a different space. I'm back in Vancouver, Canada. Not so long ago, now that we're recording this, I have beautiful Jacqui with me. This podcast, Starseed Gathering, started maybe 2.5, 3 years ago. I was called by my guides to gather light workers around the globe in this special place where they can talk about their story, where they can share their services, and they can share something very personal to them that will help you maybe gain insight about your life or wanting maybe to work with them because you'll feel in your heart that it's the right choice for you. So, welcome, beautiful Jacqui. Jacqui is in the United Kingdom and she will present us who she is, what she does. Welcome, beautiful soul. It's very, very lovely to have you here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me here. I've been looking forward to sharing my journey with you a little bit. Um, so I'm from the UK. I live in a town called Glastonbury, which in the UK is a very spiritual, mindful town. Probably the pagan centre of Europe, I would imagine. And so my path started many, many years ago. I've just recently turned 60. So when I was 15, I discovered paganism and witchcraft in particular, and have been following that path and that journey ever since I was 15. So it's many years, too long to even begin to think how many years that is. In that journey, along that journey, and the many different paths that I've taken, I've been remarkably lucky to meet some of the most amazing teachers that I think anyone could ever have. And so my spiritual journey has been enhanced not just through the path of witchcraft, but through the many different teachers that I've been able to meet along the way. So part of what I like to do is to share the knowledge that I've been given with other people. And one of the paths that I am exploring, I say exploring, I've been working with for the last 20 years is the path of the labyrinth. I'll show you what I mean by a labyrinth if I hold that up. So this is what we call a classical seven path labyrinth. A labyrinth is very different to a maze. It's really important to point that out. A maze and a labyrinth, people often get confused. They think they're one and the same thing. A maze is a puzzle that the brain is supposed to solve. So it will have blocks. You'll walk through, or you'll guide your fingers through, or your pen if you're doing one as a puzzle on a piece of paper, and you'll come to blocks. And you have to retrace your way out to find your way to the center. And that engages your intellectual brain, keeps you working, keeps you busy. It's good. It's a good exercise for the brain. The labyrinth differs in as much as it is a unicursal path. And a unicursal is a great word, and it's a word I've only ever come across in labyrinth terminology. And it literally means one path in and one path out. So whilst this may look as though it goes this way and that way, which it does, the whole path is simply one way, one entrance, with the goal, we think, to reach the middle. And once we reach the middle, the idea is to follow the path back out again. Very simple, deceptively simple. Why do I connect with labyrinth so much? I was in Spain about 20 years ago in the Basque country up in the mountains, and I was teaching a spiritual course there to a Druid group, a Spanish Druid group. My pagan path has taken me all over the world, which is phenomenal. And I was working in their temple, just teaching them some pagan aspects from British culture. And they had a large cloth canvas labyrinth on the floor, and it kept calling to me. And I was like, I'm intrigued. I knew what it was, but I didn't know how people used it. So when we broke up for lunch, I asked the teacher there, Gracie, who's since become a dear friend of mine, how do you walk a labyrinth? What is the way forward? Now, there's no wrong way to walk a labyrinth, but she taught me her way, a way to walk a labyrinth. And it was a very mind-blowing, incredible experience. I followed her instructions and I began to walk. And as I began to walk, I began to feel incredibly emotional. and I started to cry. And I don't cry as a rule. Um, and by the time I got to the centre, I wasn't just crying, it was proper hiccuping, runny eyes, runny nose, red face, sobbing. Just couldn't stop. And I was looking at Gracie and I said, I don't understand. And she said, calm, calm, just calm, and walk back out. And as I walked back out, I felt myself calming down. And as I came out of the labyrinth, all of her druid grove embraced me in a big hug, all of them surrounding me with love. Now, I don't know to this day what it was I let go of in the labyrinth, but I felt so much lighter, so much better, so much more myself. And the beauty of labyrinths, whether we walk them, draw them, use handheld finger labyrinths, is that their healing energy is all encompassing. And that's the beauty of that's one of the many things that I love about them. I have since painted two very large canvas labyrinths that my business partner Darren and myself take out and run um, labyrinth one day retreats on. And it's beautiful just watching how people interact with such an amazing shape. And I think the more I learn, the more and the more it teaches me, the more I want to pass that on. Because in the 21st century, we're way too busy trying to get from A to B in the fastest possible space, in the fastest possible way. We want to get from where we are now to over there, right over there in the distance, and we want to go in a straight line in a blinkered fashion. So we are focused on exactly what is in front of us. Now, the labyrinth teaches us that's not going to happen. When we walk a labyrinth, our perceived goal is here, the center. So the labyrinth takes you right close and then it will spin you as far away from the center as possible before bringing you back in again until you finally weave into the center. And one of the lessons that the labyrinth teaches us with this is we can go from A to B as quickly as we want. And we can get there in good health and be able to do the work that we want to do. However, if we take our time, if we meander one way and then another, if we take in all directions, the labyrinth teaches us that we learn so much more by taking our time, allowing ourselves to being pulled away from our perceived goal so that we can spend time learning about ourselves, about the world around us, before finally being spun back into the center and this point here, which is what we call the cross on the labyrinth. Once on the cross, our journey isn't finished. We will stand here and we will allow the energy of the labyrinth and our own energy that we have woven on this path to hold us in this center. If we've got questions or fears or anxieties or worries, we can state those here as we enter. And we can think about those as we're walking around. And it's the center where we gain knowledge, where we either open up to our higher self or we open up to a higher being, whatever that might be in your faith, or that you're opening up to the universe itself and allowing it to hold you in the arms as they sweep around you when you're stood at the center. And the beauty of the labyrinth is that all faiths have incorporated, or many faiths have incorporated this symbol into their practice. But it's not owned by any faith. It's owned by no faith and all faiths. So whether you are Christian, and many Christian churches have taken these on and built them, whether you're pagan, whether you're Druid, whether you're Hindu, whether you're Catholic, it doesn't matter. You can embrace these shapes as a path to prayer, a path to meditation, a path to Godhead, or more importantly, a path to yourself. How often do we actually spend time just with us? And one of the things the labyrinth encourages us to do is just that.
How beautiful. This is
Um,
so unique. I love it. I love it. And so you've been connecting to this beautiful labyrinth symbol or shape or energy
Yeah,
even, right? For
yeah.
years. So how do you include it in your work now? Um,
So in my work, I mean, I use it for my own daily practice. So I'll use a finger labyrinth every day. Often before I go to bed, actually, I find really good to integrate my day. So one of the ways that I will do it, I have a larger, slightly larger one that is indented, so I can close my eyes and just trace my finger and know that it's following the right path in. If you want to give gratitude for your day, having a labyrinth, and you can draw them. They are, or you can download one off the internet on paper. It's so easy, and there are lots of sites that will show you how to draw them, and it's very simple to draw, believe it or not. But I will sit in bed at night before I turn the light off. I will trace my finger around the labyrinth, giving thanks and gratitude for my day, or trying to solve a problem, maybe thinking about an issue that might have come up for me, and I will get my finger into the center and I will thank the universe for everything it has given me. And rather than trace my finger straight out, I'll just take my finger off. I'll go to bed. I'll sleep. And in the morning, I'll pick the labyrinth up. I put my finger in the center and then I trace my way back out. The labyrinth is a liminal space. It allows you to enter a liminal space. So by liminal, I mean that place that is neither one thing or another. If you think of dusk and dawn, they're neither daylight or night. It's a liminal space. It's an in-between. The labyrinth allows you to be in a liminal space. It encourages liminality. So to do that just before sleep often means that the labyrinth itself will enter, or the energy of the labyrinth will enter into your dream space. And I will record any dreams. It might be that if I'm trying to solve a problem, something might pop into my dreams that I might go, and I write it down. So it encourages me to be in a liminal space. When I'm working with others, particularly when walking a labyrinth, because it's very different to walk than it is to trace your finger, it's very powerful. But my labyrinths are 4 or 5 meters square, so they're quite big. You can't just put them down in your front room, or and because they're heavy canvas, I don't like them outside unless I've got something underneath them. But I will work with them throughout the year to encourage people to engage spiritually and magically on a level with the changing seasons. So we'll run workshops roughly around the festivals of the Wheel of the Year. I don't know whether you're familiar with the Wheel of the Year, where we have the different. Yeah, okay, so we will run a spring, summer, autumn, and winter labyrinth retreats, incorporating for spring, we'll incorporate the festival of Imbolc and we'll incorporate the spring equinox. And then for summer, we'll incorporate Beltane and the summer solstice. For autumn, we'll incorporate Lammas and the autumn equinox. And for winter, we'll incorporate Samhain and the winter solstice. There's 4 walks a year. Or say 4 walks, 4 workshops in which there will be 6 or 7 different walks that people will be guided to walk. There'll always be a seasonal theme. There'll always be a sense of ritual, of letting go of things before you can bring things in, of communing with spirit in whatever way that you see that you wish to commune with spirit, of working with our dead. Even when we do our Samhain walks, we are honouring and working with people that we have loved and that have travelled beyond this plane to the next. And because the veil is very thin at Samhain, it's a very liminal space, working on the labyrinth, we use that as a metaphor for walking to the land of the dead. So we'll walk into the centre of the labyrinth, we'll stand at the centre, and then we'll walk straight off without coming out properly. And then we are in the land of the dead, where we may share food, we may talk, we may share a simple thing as a cup of tea, and have conversations with our dead before going back to the center of the labyrinth and returning to the land of the living. And it allows the psychological feelings of connection to your dead at Samhain, or for the other festivals, to your idea of deity, but more important, to the natural world. When we're working with these, and we're working with the Sabbats, when we're working with the ebb and the flow of nature, we become more whole people. And again, we're 21st century people. How many of us connect to the land in the way that our ancestors did? I would guess very few people. So working on the labyrinth with the Sabbats allows us to think about what's happening out on the land. What is happening in our landscape? Your landscape in Canada will be very different to my landscape here. You know, what's happening in our local area? What happens in my garden might be very different to somebody who lives 100, 150 miles further north. How do we connect with the energy of our landscape? And for those people that live in inner cities, working with labyrinths, or even in the countryside, working with labyrinths allows us to explore those themes. Each Sabbat has a theme, each Sabbat has a story, and it allows us to connect with ourselves and with the wider land, but also with the idea of what is important to us spiritually. And with labyrinths, they are one of the most amazing healing tools I've ever worked with. Wherever you put a labyrinth, it will begin to heal the land that it is put upon.
Wow.
And that is incredible. So for 12 years, I was a pagan prison chaplain, and I worked in several southwest of the UK prisons. And I worked with people from all walks of life. And in two of those prisons, we had labyrinths installed. So there was one that was already installed in one prison. I could see how the inmates there really loved working with it. And I had a very large labyrinth installed in a modern prison that I was working in. And even the staff and prison officers within that prison could see how men who were often on very long sentences for very violent crimes would be calm within the labyrinths, and how much they honoured that space, looking after it, gardening, making it look pretty, encouraging flowers to grow around it. And I would always get messages from prisoners, could I please walk the labyrinth with you? I'm facing parole, or I'm facing uncertainty, or a parent is dying, or whatever it was. They found great comfort in the labyrinth. So it's supremely healing.
Wow, this is so unknown to the general public, because I mean, I've probably seen Labyrinth, here and there, not really knowing, right, the magic behind it.
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful that we can share it here, so that people, even if you go somewhere and there is one, well, go to it and maybe set an intention. What would you like to experience, or just try it out and see how it feels, right?
And you were blown away. What I love is introducing people to the labyrinth, and they just see mine and they say, it's just a canvas cloth with some paint on it. And I'm like, yeah, that's all it is. So walk it. And I haven't met one person, not one person, that has come off and gone, I got nothing from that. It has blown people's minds every time they've walked it. And the beauty is they are having a massive resurgence at the moment. So there was a lot of interest in labyrinths around the kind of 70s and 80s, and then it kind of died down again. And it's coming up, particularly in the US and in the UK. But they're so much older than that. They are between 3,000 and 5,000 years old. So this particular shape is the oldest shape. There are so many different shaped labyrinths, very modern ones. When the medieval churches adopted them, they made much more elaborate shaped labyrinths, but your listeners and viewers can look those up. There's Chartres just outside of Paris, which is incredibly beautiful, one I would like to go and walk. But this is the oldest, and it comes from maybe 3,000 to 5,000 years ago. They were, I think, first in Europe. And then because of how they're drawn, they're held in something called a seed pattern. I can't really show you here, but it's from the seed pattern that you draw the labyrinth. And if your listeners and your viewers just type in labyrinth seed pattern, there are many, 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 many tutorials showing you how to draw that and how the labyrinth is born from the seed pattern. And I think it's because the seed pattern, in its simplicity, once people knew what they were doing, to share how you draw labyrinths, it's just kind of spread out across the world at roughly the same time. These ideas genuinely do, don't they? When when mankind first discovered fire, it kind of was in the same places at all times. The labyrinths are the same. So there's lots and lots of old labyrinths in Sweden, Norway. We've got labyrinths in this country that date back to maybe 3,000 years, which is incredible. So the fact that mankind could see the magic and the power and the beauty of this symbol as far back as then, and we are now carrying that forward into modern times, we don't know how they were used back then. We can't know. So how we use it now, I would hazard a guess would be similar, but we are making it more relevant now for the 21st century, so that 21st century people in their busy, often disconnected lives can really get excited about something that is really simple practice. So I was taught a way to walk it, but there is no wrong way to walk a labyrinth. Children love them. They will run around them as fast as they can and get dizzy. For adults, it's always best to walk slowly, deliberately, with purpose. It's a mindful practice. The labyrinth engages our everyday active intellectual brain following the path. Our brain likes that. Oh, this is what I'm doing. And it enters a state of trance. Now, I'm also a solution-focused hypnotherapist, and I work with labyrinths with my hypnotherapy as well. So hypnotherapy is a state of trance. Being in the labyrinth is a state of trance. And trance is when the two minds, conscious and subconscious, come together in focus. So you know those times when you're driving and you've had a long drive and you've got somewhere and you've gone, oh, I'm here. Or you've been driving and you've planned dinner and you know where you're going at the weekend and you know that you've got to call that friend. That's a form of trance. So we go into trance naturally in every single day, tens of times. In this conversation, because I'm talking a lot, you will have gone in and out of trance. Not that you're not listening to me, but you're hearing someone's voice. You're engaging with me. You're listening to what I'm saying. But as part of you, that's also thinking, I've got to do such and such later. That's a form of trance. When we're daydreaming, when we're running on a treadmill or walking, we go into trance. So the brain is really comfortable with that. So with the labyrinth, it allows us to enter a very low level trance state, the same as hypnotherapy, where our intellectual brain is busy following the path and our subconscious brain can come to the fore. Our creative brain can come to the fore. So often in a labyrinth, people will have those light bulb moments when they suddenly think, this is what I need to change. This is where I need to go. This is where the healing starts. And it's so incredible as somebody who facilitates labyrinth walking to watch that light bulb go off in somebody. We have people, my business partner Darren and myself, we have people coming to us, the same people coming again and again and again and again, simply to engage with the labyrinth, because one lady said, it helps me unravel my mind and it prepares me for the next weeks ahead until I walk the next.
Wow.
So it's incredible.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, we all do such different things. That's why I love so much to speak with all of you. There is something interesting in engaging the physical body and allowing the walk to be the healer, or the
Yes.
space to be the healing energy. And you know, you don't have to lay down in a specific place or like having whatever, you know, you
Yep.
just in the space, and the magic happens while you're there. I love that. Now I'm gonna try to find one. I'm gonna want to find one here. I'm sure there
They
is.
are in all places. Try churches. A lot of churches have labyrinths, but so do parks. hospitals, hospices. And we're finding now that more and more places, just like prisons, hospitals, hospices, local parks, they're starting to build labyrinths. Um, some of our universities here in the UK, and I think over in I don't know about Canada, but over in the States, certainly. And what they're saying, the great scientific they, what they're saying is that there's proof now that when we walk a labyrinth, that our brain waves, just like when we go into trance, begin to slowly settle down. The brain kind of, it doesn't light up as much. It's just really nice and kind of not dark, but kind of very settled. The brain waves are just flowing nicely, and we enter a state of deep relaxation. Our blood pressure drops, slightly, not dangerously. Um, our anxiety levels lower, our stress levels lower. So this is all science now. This is not just hearsay. So it's really interesting, some of the experiments that are being done. So we have a large university in a town here in Canterbury, in another part of the country. They've built a labyrinth, and students walk it when they're approaching exams, or anything that's kind of really finding a bit stressful. And in hospices, I've worked in hospices with labyrinths, and that's a privilege. Either the families of those people who are in the process of dying, or the dying themselves, if they're fit and able and able to come to terms with
Right.
what life is for them. And that's a privilege.
Yeah, I love the multitude of ways it can be used.
And
Right.
you can't use it in a bad way, and you can't use it in an evil way. You can't use it in a harmful way. It's impossible. I remember, and I've told this story before, but lots, but I remember when I was a student of the Labyrinth with my friend in Spain, Gracie. She'd come here to run a course, and I was helping her. And I was going through a particularly bad time in my life, and I really just didn't want to be there. But I was helping her with the students in this country. And I said to Gracie, I will do everything behind the scenes. I'll support people, I'll make teas and coffees, I'll, get the walks ready, but I'm not walking the labyrinth. I feel too raw, and I don't want to expose that side of myself to people that I don't know. And she was tough. She is tough. She said, you walk every labyrinth I tell you to walk. And I went, no, it's not fair to make me do that. If you want to be a priestess of the labyrinth, if you want this connection, then you open yourself 110% to the labyrinth.
Hmm.
Okay, so she asked me to open the labyrinth, and I was angry at her. Again, like I had the sobbing childlike experience in my first labyrinth, I felt a bit like a 4-year-old wanting to have a tantrum. I was angry. I had my fists, I was holding onto my thumbs, my body was rigid, and I stomped through the labyrinth, muttering. "Rah, rah, 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 rah." But as I started to walk, I felt my body relax. I felt my hands unclench. I got to the center. I felt peace. I felt an immense healing. And I heard the labyrinth speak to me. I always think it has its own spiritual energy. And it said, you can deal with your rubbish now, and you can put it into my paths, and I will disperse it. Or not. It's your choice. Deal with it now, and the healing begins. Take it away with you, and it won't begin. But one day, you're going to have to look at it. And that was the wisdom that was given to me. So I decided to let it go there and then, and felt so much better and so much calmer. So the labyrinth talks to you, talks to you.
Yeah.
My students always say that they feel that both our labyrinths, my labyrinth and my business partner Darren's, have very different personalities. They're the
Yeah.
same shape. Mine's
Mm.
older, mine's about 13, 14 years old, and Darren's we just painted last summer. But they feel very different. And it's interesting to hear even new students who walk both of them, talk about one labyrinth feeling quite um, challenging, not in a difficult way, but you can do this, but it's up to you. And the other labyrinth being much lighter, much more forgiving. So, and that's quite interesting. So we often get them to walk both interchangeably so that they can feel the difference of both of them. And every labyrinth walk, totally different. Same path. You're putting one foot in front of the other, listening to music, maybe burning incense, maybe a few candles for a bit of ambience, but every walk is different. There's no two walks are the same. And even if you walk the labyrinth with 2 or 3 different people, they're walking their own walk. They're
Right.
sharing your energy, but it's their walk and it's your walk. So each labyrinth is very different, and that's incredible.
This is so interesting. Very interesting. I love it. Would you love to share how we could do this exercise of the labyrinth now that you
Yeah,
and
I can show you. I might have to turn my chair so you can, because if I do it that way, I can't quite follow the paths
right, right,
properly
right,
because it's a mirror image, isn't it?
right.
So this is a really very simple labyrinth meditation. And within the paths of the labyrinth, in my pagan tradition, but it can go through all traditions, we can work with the elements of earth, air, fire, water, and spirit. Now they go through all beings. It doesn't matter what your faith or none is, you can work with the elements. And there are certain attributes to each element that we'll talk about as we do this very short meditation. Normally, I would play music. Normally, I would light candles and I would dim the lights. And I would sit for maybe 3 or 4 minutes, just breathing exercises, just getting myself into that frame of mind. And it might be, let's say that I'm trying to work out a problem. Let's use that as a, so I'm just going to turn my chair and read it. Can you see that okay? Is that
Yeah,
okay?
yeah,
So before we start, my tradition teaches, and again, it's only my tradition, that you bow 3 times before entering the labyrinth, whether it's a finger labyrinth or a walkable one. The 3 bows, the first bow is for all the walks in your past, all the paths that you have taken, good, bad, and indifferent. We're honoring everything about ourselves. So we give thanks to those walks. The second is for all the paths we are traveling on now, good, bad, and indifferent. And the third is for all future journeys and paths that we will take. So it's honoring past, present, and future, that which was, is, and will be. So I might think of whatever problem I have here. I'll make my 3 bows. Just little nods are good enough. And the first path we enter is fire. And it might be that I ask the path of fire to give me the strength to be able to look at my problem or my issue with clarity and strength. Strength to face the things that I need to face. And then we go into the second path here, which is water. And this is the inner waters, the deep oceans. And this might be where I choose to think of my emotions. Where do I feel my emotions? What parts of my body do they resonate in? My deeper emotions that perhaps I hide. Why do I hide them? Do I need to hide them? Can I show them? Can I be honest to those people I love? And then the second path of water are outward emotions. Where do I feel these? Are these honest emotions? What do these emotions mean? These are the things that the ones I'm happy showing people. Why am I happy with these emotions and perhaps not the deeper ones? How do I feel about my problem and my issue? How does that manifest? And then we go into yet another path of fire. And this is the path of fire and change and transformation. We don't like change and transformation as people. We're creatures of habit. And whilst we might know that change is necessary for us to move on, it's not always easy. So here we can ask fire to allow us to embrace change and embrace transformation for the good. And then we'll go up into this tiny path here. This is the path of earth. Now there's 2 water, 2 fire, and 2 air, but there's only one earth path. And it's the smallest path because we're creatures of the earth. Our body is earth. We live on the earth. And here we can ask for grounding, for growth. And you can stop here if you want for a while until you feel grounded. And then we go up into air. The first path of air is about our words. How are we using our words in this problem? What are we telling ourselves that's perhaps making the problem worse? How can we be honest? Words have power. We need to find the right words. And then here is the second path of air, and that's our mind, our mental health. What gives us stability, clarity of thought? How do we achieve that with the issue that we might be facing? And then we go up into this path, which we call spirit. And spirit is where you can access that idea of spirit in whatever way you feel is for you. And if you are not spiritual, then you access your higher self, you, the spirit within. And then we turn clockwise and we stand here, a foot either side if you're walking or your finger at the center of the cross. This is the center of the universe. This is where all things meet its opposite. Male and female, light and dark, black and white, night and day, God and goddess. This is where the center of all things meet their opposites. It's a powerful place. And as you've been moving your finger around the labyrinth, you've been creating an energetic point at the center here of your own energy. And the way I was taught was that this energy spirals clockwise up to Father Sky and anti-clockwise down to Mother Earth. And you are the conduit in between the two. And this is where we can close our eyes and we can stay for as long as we feel we need to stay, acknowledging any messages, any thoughts, any feelings that we might have. When we're stood here on a cloth labyrinth, often people will start with their eyes closed, moving with that energy. With your finger on it, you can sometimes feel the tingling of that energy. And when you're ready, the walk isn't over because you have to integrate everything that you've learnt coming in, everything that you've been told here. It's now time to integrate. So you come back up to spirit and you begin the walk out or moving your finger out until you get all the way back and come out and you bow 3 times again in thanks. Now, the way I would normally do it, but because I'm being filmed, it's more difficult, is I would normally do a finger labyrinth with my less dominant hand. So I'm right-handed. So I would normally do it with my left. And the reason I do that is simply because it slows me down. It allows my intellectual brain to have to concentrate more. So my subconscious is more free to come forwards and to help me problem solve. Now, if you don't have a problem, you can simply trace your finger on the labyrinth as a mindfulness practice, having that time out of time, that moment for yourself. And I would always set maybe a piece of music that you like and maybe 2 or 3 tracks. So you're going to be in here for 10 to 15 minutes. That's a long time, but you'll get so much benefit from it. And the more you use a labyrinth, the more familiar you become, the more connected you become to it and it to you. But the biggest thing is there's no wrong way to walk in. Whatever works for you and however that feels for you is the right way to do it.
Lovely. How interesting this is. So people can find one, buy one, draw one,
Yeah,
find one in their area where they live
yeah.
and experience it. And if you do, please comment below. I think we would both love to know how the experience was for all of you.
There is
Um,
a website called the World Wide Labyrinth Locator.
oh
So
wow, let's go.
if you put your area, it will come up with any labyrinths that are there.
Wow, this is very cool. We'll put the link below the
Yeah,
video
yeah,
so that
yeah.
people can
Perfect.
can
Perfect.
look it up. Beautiful. And what would you like to all of the viewers and the listeners to remind of the story that you shared about the labyrinth, but everything that you went through as a soul here on Earth so far? the knowledge, the wisdom, the love that you have for this planet and for humans, as I can feel. What would you like people to leave this conversation with?
I think walk your path as simply as possible. Don't overcomplicate your life. We're so good at drowning ourselves in the mundane. I do it too. And it's about taking time out and stepping into the magical in whatever way you personally see that. The lessons of the labyrinth are all about finding yourself. If you can't find yourself, you can't help others. Healing has to start here. The healing has to start here before we can then spread that to other people. We can't do it alone either. You know, we walk our path with many, many people. And I think the labyrinth teaches us as well, particularly when we all walk a labyrinth together, you can only walk as fast as the person in front of you is walking. And the person behind you can only walk as fast as you're walking. We're sharing this planet. We're sharing this planet with each other and every species that is on it. We need to respect that and we need to learn and we learn from each other.
Beautiful. Oh, such a lovely, caring soul. I'm sure that everyone that you have helped so far and that you still continue to help
It's a
feel
privilege.
there is like a very nurturing energy around you, I must say. A
Thank you.
very kind of
Thank you so much.
I'm sure like I see I can see images and things when people talk and like how whether the places that you invite people in or like whatever activities they do with you, like there's like beautiful arms of love wrapping them. So I think
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you. It's a real
yeah.
privilege to do, I think, what I do, and I'm honoured to do it, and humbled, really humbled.
Right. And if anyone wants to connect with you, what are the services that you offer other than what you already shared?
So at the moment, we're working really heavily on just pushing the labyrinth and the hypnotherapy business. We do solution focused hypnotherapy with the labyrinth all online, so I can do it worldwide, which is brilliant. We incorporate labyrinths with that. You can find out more about labyrinth practice from our website, innerpath wellbeing.co.uk. We offer online courses as well with the labyrinth, this finger labyrinth, and connecting with that as well. So that's kind of the focus of what I'm trying to do now as well. But I'm also happy for people to email me from the website if they've got any questions about anything. It doesn't have to be labyrinth based, doesn't have to be hypnotherapy based. Just, if you've got any questions about witchcraft, paganism, healing, how I connect magically to the wider world, just drop me a line. Be very happy to have conversations.
Yay. Oh, thank you so much, beautiful soul. It's such a beautiful soul you are, and it's
Oh, thank you so
such
much for
a
having me.
pleasure. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be able to like help you share what you do and people to find, it's such a
Yeah,
specific thing. And I think if anyone, what I'm feeling is that if anyone has tried talk therapy and other things that just didn't really set, like they didn't feel that they could expand truly in who they
yeah,
were, I think like something like this, which doesn't use a lot of words, I don't think, like, I
it
mean,
doesn't. Yeah,
probably before and after, but during the session, uh,
yeah.
maybe that's going to open up some people to other ways of healing. There's so many ways of healing, and if you're feeling called to connect with Jacqui, please do, please do, please do.
Thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you so much for your time as well. And we will put all of your links below. So please share, comment below if you have any questions, if you have anything, any insight about a labyrinth that you tried before or will try later. And we will see you all in the next one. Thank you so much for being here, Jacqui, again. And
Thank
have
you so
a
much for
beautiful
having
day.
me.
All right.
Take care.
Much. Bye.